theme for today is Yoga for Abundance, or Yoga of Abundance, and the Dharma of Prosperity. And today we have a very special panel, and I'm sure you've enjoyed all of the lectures that we've had to offer during this week-long festival. And today, as we conclude the festival, this particular lecture series speaks about abundance and prosperity, and we'll explore that together. And joining us on the panel is Ken Honda, Gurushabd Khalsa ji, and Swami Svatmananda ji. A big round of applause. So a brief introduction of each of our speakers, and then we'll move into the theme and the topic of today's panel. Ken Honda is a money and happiness expert. Yes, exactly. He's also a best-selling development author in Japan, with his books selling and surpassing more than 8 million copies since 2001. So a big round of applause for him. His financial expertise comes from owning and managing several businesses. His writing bridges the topics of finance and self-help, focusing on creating and generating personal wealth and happiness through deeper self-honesty. So thank you so much, Ken, for joining us. He just mentioned to me this is his first time in India, so I hope that India and Rishikesh has welcomed you very well.
Yes, very much so.
And with that, Gurushabd Khalsa ji, this is definitely not his first time in India. His I don't know how many times in India, but it's such a joy and such an honor to have him here year after year to lead us in his teachings and in his practice. He is the co-founder of Golden Bridge Yoga with his wife Gurmukh. Together they had a unique opportunity of studying Kundalini Yoga directly from Yogi Bhajan in Los Angeles and in New Mexico for 25 years. And now they travel worldwide, bringing Kundalini teachers training programs all across the world. He likes to teach challenging courses that encourage his students into deeper states of meditative experiences. And of course, his morning 4:30 a.m. practices here at the festival are very sought after. So thank you so much, Gurushabd ji, for coming back home. And Swami Svatmananda ji, a dear brother, family, and it's so wonderful to have you for the Yoga Festival this year. Swami Svatmananda ji has been ordained as a monk, as you can clearly see. He has a long and renowned, his career. We're just going to quickly go on the career because there's a reason why these three panelists are here on this panel today speaking about prosperity. And he himself was a renowned expert in the field of data communication. Later, he used his skill and entrepreneurship instinct to guide and manage and start 30 businesses and philanthropic ventures in technology and capital investment, international businesses, as well as nonprofits. So he has had a lifelong pull to ancient civilization wisdom, such as Greeks. He studied the Greek, Mayans, Incas, and many others, and finally has settled onto the wisdom of the Vedas, and now travels and speaks and shares the wisdom of the Vedas through his beautiful experience and his insights. So thank you so much, Swamiji, for joining us. A big round of applause for Swamiji. So it's an interesting panel today, right? The yoga of abundance, the dharma of prosperity. And we're going to break it into two pieces. We'll start with one of the questions that I felt was something that might help us all, and the people who are watching us live as well, that, one of the first things that comes to mind when I was reading this topic and thinking, how do we start this, is actually in much of the world, we see such an illusion of scarcity. And whether it's the scarcity of access to resources, it's a scarcity of wealth, material wealth, or it's a scarcity of interpersonal, attention and love and feeling like a belongingness. There is this plague of scarcity. And even during the pandemic, I think it has been aggravated in many ways, where there is this, great feeling that there's something that is lacking. There's something that is never quite complete. Or that somehow if we go out into the world and we just get that one thing, we'll be more complete. And then when we get it, we still feel like we get that one more thing and we'll be complete. And so prosperity is always just one step away, and never quite something that we can hold on to. And this sort of virus of scarcity that is plaguing our society feels so much like, in psychology, because I majored in psychology as well. And it's the example of Pavlov's dog, where even after you give them the opportunity of the cage is open, they're so used to living in the cage that they don't know the way out. And so that feels like the most tangible way of describing this plague that we have. And so I'd love to hear from you of what do you think, what are the systems, what are the structures, what are the thought processes that are at the source of creating this illusion of scarcity? And then how might we, as a community, as an individual, go to shift that illusion and come into a state of reality of our abundance and prosperity? So I'd love, maybe we can start from Swamiji first, and then we can come down.
As a child, my first ambition was to make a lot of money, and what I wasn't trying to make money for myself. I said, there's so much poverty in the world that I was going to make a lot of money and then distribute the money. And I think I was only about 10 years old. So I started driving when I was like 10 and a half, and then I got involved with our family business when I was 11. By the time I was 18, I was running like 6 businesses already. And very quickly I began to realize that it is easier to make money. I mean, it's not that easy, as I say, but comparatively, it is easier to make money than it is to give away money. So then I embarked on a different path, and I said, I saw so many projects funded by donor agencies, United Nations and USAID and so on, and they actually had a negative impact. Like, for instance, I say USAID created AIDS, the disease, because all the funding went into prostitution and alcohol. And that's basically how it kind of trickled down to. In that, I then began to realize that money management was a huge problem, especially when giving money away. And over the years, I began to study it more and more, because I was trying to find out, how is it possible, how can we make this money that we give away effective and have an impact? And so, long story short, I got involved with international development for about 6-7 years, and that was after I achieved quite a bit in the US, so I decided to move back to Africa, where I was from. And I started working with the UN agencies again, now as an adult, with fully armed with lots of knowledge and lots of abilities. And I said, okay, how does this work? And I thought I'd reverse the brain drain and so on. And then when I began to look at that more, I began to see that there was an unhealthy, or rather incestuous, relationship between the donor and the recipient of the donors. So for instance, Sri Lanka, Tanzania are two countries that have received billions of dollars, the maximum. If you Google this, you'll see that Sri Lanka and Tanzania have received the most aid in the world. And yet they are the poorest country. You know what happened to Sri Lanka last year. Now, in all of my studies, because you see, I started very young to deal with money and the power of money and the pursuit of the abundance of money. And I began to realize that there was something tremendously missing, and that was, there was something tremendously missing both with the donors and the recipient of donors. There was something missing with the businesses and amounted to, if I can put it in a word, it amounted to lack of dharma. Every organization, every business that did something unethical did not survive. I mean, I've looked at, I've actually been, I was counting the other day, I said 30 businesses. I mean, that's generally what I put at. But one day I said, wait a minute, let me really count this. And I was involved with about 42 businesses. And out of the 42 businesses, there's only 4 surviving today. So the question is, how is it that those other 38 businesses failed? And when you look back at it, you'll see that there was something wrong in the intention and also in the pursuit itself of trying to succeed in making money. So all said and done, there's no success, lasting success. Of course, there's a temporary success. You can cheat, you can bend the rules, you can do a lot of things and be successful. But the question is, is that success, financial success, and I'm only talking about financial success right now, is that financial success going to make you happy? Is that financial success going to make your family happy? So what happens is when you go deeper and deeper and you analyze this, you see that it only does, excuse me, it not only brings devastation to your success, but it also brings a, excuse me, it brings a curse to your family. and the more and more I began to look at it as like, the key operating factor in anything we do has to depend on Dharma, which is one of the reasons I ended up here in terms of being a Swami in the Vedic tradition. I think that's enough, and then probably, I can add some more later. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. And now we go on to Gurushabd for his perspective.
This morning I pulled out my phone and I went to the dictionary and I put in the word prosperity. It means success. It doesn't mean money. Money has nothing to do with prosperity. Money comes if you have success, but what is success? Dharma. Without Dharma, you're going to live in karma. And money's just a part of karma. It's just energy. And if you have a good heart, a kind heart, a compassionate heart, and if that's what your Dharma is to develop that, when the flow of money comes, you'll redirect it to where it's needed. I agree with Swamiji 100%. Most are owned by the Dharma, and they're for-profit businesses, and then within the structure of that, for 8 billion people to drive electric cars? No, it's absurd. It's an absolute absurdity. But, you know, that's a whole nother tangent to go off on. But the point is, in the physical realm, there may be some shortages which tells us we're on the wrong path. But energetically, it's infinite. Probably the bottom line problem is people want what they want, not what they need. You know, I don't need 3 Tesla cars sitting in my driveway. I don't need a house that's big enough for 20 people that 3 people live in or 4 people live in. That's where we get this concept of scarcity. We're taking more than we need. Could the planet support 8 billion people if everyone was, and why do people be obsessed with money, be obsessed with more than what they need? Because this is empty. They're empty in their heart, they're empty in their kindness, they're empty in their caring, and they're empty in their compassion because they don't have any Dharma. And they don't have a regular daily practice, because your Dharma must be a daily practice. The power of Earth and its gravitational forces is 7 times the power of the pull of the heavens. That's why you need Dharma. That's why you need a path. That's why you need a commitment. And that's why you need a daily practice.
Thank you. That was really beautiful. And it actually got to my second question, but Ken, be lovely to hear from you.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Coming to India has been my dream for 50 years. My father used to take me to Indian restaurant. The first time was when I was 5, and I thought I was in heaven. There's anything so nice, nicer than sushi. And I was hooked with Indian food since then. But somehow I had not an opportunity to come over here, and I heard, if you're not invited to India, you cannot come in. Is that true? I waited 40 years. Finally, I got this invitation. So I was so super excited to be here. So thank you for all the community. And whenever somebody said, welcome home, I just move into tears. So don't say welcome home because I'm going to cry. So money has been such an interesting theme. I was born into a unique family. My father was a successful tax accountant. And he started teaching me about money. So one day, I will be financially okay. So one time, I came back from school. My father was a very macho, tough, karate type of person, but he was crying like a baby. And I thought Japanese men, or men, adults, are capable of crying. So I was so shocked. because that was the first time seeing my father cry. And my mother took me aside and told me that my father's best friend slash his client committed suicide. And not only he committed suicide, he killed the entire family of 4 and then committed suicide. So my father had to go through the funeral and take care of the everything what's left over. And my father went into heavy depression afterwards. And the tragedy is that he had prepared the money to give to his best friend's family if they filed bankruptcy, which he was advising. But he was a Japanese typical man. He never says anything more than 3 words, like good morning, good night, thank you. So he never told his friend that he had the money for the family. So he regretted about the fact that he didn't tell his best friend that he was ready to give the money. And because of the depression and alcoholism in my family, we were in a very tough situation. But that set me to the quest of happiness and money. And since I was 10, I've been interviewing people with money, without money, and I realized that having money may not have so much to do with happiness. And because if you have money, people become greedy. So people want more money, as we've been talking about. And I've been interviewed by many media in the West and in other countries. And what's interesting is that in Europe and America, I often get interviewed by people, podcasters and TV people, asking me, hey, Kim, how can I have more happy money? And in Japan, the question I often receive is that I want to be satisfied with what I have. How can I satisfy myself with what I have? So the total approach is very different. So instead of having more and more, we can go toward a different direction, being satisfied with what we have. And I realized that everyone is born with a certain money container size. And some people are born with small ones and others a big one, like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. And I think that's where this concept of Dharma comes in. We call it ikigai. It's very almost like identical word in Japanese. We are born with ikigai or Dharma, and it's planted in our heart. And once we just make up our mind and then let it grow, we need to have a sunlight, which is people's attention. Could be your parents or could be your teachers. If you have enough love as a light, the seed will be ready. And if you have enough heat, which is your passion, it's ready to sprout. And if you have water, which is emotion, the seed is completely ready to come out. So if you have those 3, it'll come out, and then it flows out from your heart to the world. My mentor, Wahei Takeda, who used to be called Warren Buffett of Japan, he's my teacher. He said, Ken, you have to look at money as energy. So energy flows through you and then come out from you. Unless you let it flow into your heart and let it out, it'll just leave empty. So you have to receive money with your heart, and you have to let go of the money through your heart. That's how he taught me arigato in, arigato out. When the money comes in, you just receive with gratitude. And then when you spend money, do the same thing. So by receiving happy money into your life, and by spending your money in a happy way, you can create the cycle of appreciation. That's why he taught me. And some people think it's too spiritual, but in fact, it works. He became one of the wealthiest men in Japan, and I have taught this technique over almost 20 years. So receiving money with gratitude and also giving money with gratitude, we can create this energy field of appreciation. And I think we're going to experience a lot of financial crisis in the next few years. But after that, I can feel that a new world is coming where we can appreciate one another and appreciate our gifts, and the money circulate in a more fair and just way. So that's what I'm just waiting for, and I want to make sure that everyone will be all right. We're not going to leave anybody behind. That's what we can do. So if you have more than enough, we can start sharing. And if you have less than enough, we have to start asking. By asking for help, by giving help, I think we can be complete. But we are so good at giving, but we are so bad at receiving. I just want to ask you, how many of you are giver? You're good at giving? Everybody here, right? Okay. So, and the next question is harder. How many of you are good at asking for help? Did I say the question right? How many of us are good at for asking help? No, we have a PhD in giving, but we are kindergarten kids when it comes to asking for help. So I think for the next few years, we have to keep giving, we have to keep asking for help. I think that's what we need, and that's what we can get out from the scarcity mentality. So let's start giving, and let's start asking for help. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
I love it. When we were talking about how money specifically is like energy, and that's really beautiful. Also reminds me of like the flow of Mother Ganga, you know, where you're not kind of holding it in place, but the coming and the going is equally balanced. And the other story that came to mind is one that Puja Satiji shares in her satsangs, and I wanted to just take a minute to share that story of a villager who lived under a tree. He was a very poor man. He didn't have a house, and he lived under this tree. He loved this tree very much. And he would go into the nearby villages, and he would ask for alms. And whatever he would collect, he would, you know, make himself something to eat for the night and just live like that. And for years and years and years, he used to do that. And I started digging a little bit more, and it started to be a little like shiny and hard. And they started uncovering this, and as they uncovered it, they found that it was a treasure chest. It was a locked treasure chest. And they broke it open, and lo behold, it was filled with jewels and diamonds and gold. And they all were like perplexed. Here's this man. He's going out asking for alms, and just under him is lying this treasure chest of wealth. And Sadhviji shares the story so beautifully as an analogy of how we are living our lives in so many places where we feel this scarcity, which is, as we've mentioned, an illusion of scarcity. And we go out and we don't know that within us there is so much abundance and prosperity. And so I know that Gurushabd, you touched upon this, and then you've also touched upon this, but I wanted to go a little deeper of how do we really cultivate the skills and the values to sustain, because our topic here is the yoga of abundance. And you know, when we talk about yoga, we're talking about samatvam yoga, the equanimity, the balance. You know, there are stories that, and Gurushabd was sharing that you don't need 5 Teslas in your parking lot. And there's stories that people who are in extreme poverty, who have abundance, then all of a sudden in the blindness of that abundance, leaving even like vehicles, brand new cars on the highway, just because they can. And it's like, how that is not the yogic way of abundance and prosperity. And so what is the yogic way of abundance and prosperity? What is the dharma of prosperity? And also the action of being so full, my cup hath run over. that in giving, we receive. So I'd love to have Gurushabd, you start, because you really spoke about that when you were speaking, and I'd love for you to kind of help us dive deeper with that.
Well, for me, it's technology of yoga. You want a meditation for prosperity? Or you want to sit here and talk about it for another half an hour and then go off all full of your head full of stuff? Do you? Yes? No? Simple meditation. You hit here. You hit here. Here, what am I hitting? Venus mound. What's Venus? Love. Here, Jupiter. What's Jupiter? Knowledge. Once I have knowledge of love, how can I not be prosperous? How can I not be successful? It's impossible. Try your darndest. It'll be impossible. So you go like this, and the mantra you chant is Har, H-A-R, which is the original utterance of the word God. You know, the creator that created it all, the creative force that created it all. Har, 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 Har. You do it 11 minutes. If you're a Spotify aficionado, you can find Amin Beer's version on Spotify or YouTube Music. Hard, 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 hard. Anyway, now you know it. You want prosperity? Do it 11 minutes a day for 40 days. You won't even be able to keep the money away from you. It creates a green auric field, and green attracts, you know, money has to be energy. Look it, each one of us is complete fools. We're all accepting toilet paper as something that has value in it. Be it rupees, be it dollars, be it pesos, it's all toilet paper. It has no value. There's nothing behind it except what? Goodwill. That's it. We trust that you give me a rupee and I accept that that rupee is worth something. I give you $1, you give me $1. We accept that it's worth something. And in reality, as he pointed out, the whole thing is about to fail. The whole fiat currency system of the world is on the brink of failure. So that's not prosperity. There are going to be many, many millionaires in Ambani, one of those brothers, is just in huge collapse. Multi-billionaire. 3 banks in the United States in the last week, second largest bank failure in the United States history in the last week. It's an illusion. You're being scammed. Wake up.
We'll move over to Swamiji.
Yeah. Scarcity is an illusion. As I was talking about earlier, because we don't understand Dharma, we do not incorporate Dharma because we truly don't understand what is really involved. In the ancient times, there wasn't scarcity because people operated on Dharma. Now, I'll give you an example. 2,200 years ago, there was a great sage in Ayurveda, Shushruta, and he talked about pandemics. And when he talked about pandemics, and he was teaching his students, he says, and he talked about how to cure it, how to deal with it. But then one of the students asked a really pertinent question, and he said, but why does pandemics happen? Now you have to understand that question came from the understanding of karmic balance, and that this student understood dharmic balance, because when a person asks a question, that question, depending on the way it's being asked, reveals a lot about what the student knows. And for him to say, you know, why didn't he talk about, let's say, about viruses and, you know, how can we mass produce, you know, inoculations or vaccines that would help, you know, pandemics not occur again. But his question was, but how do pandemics occur in the first place? And the teacher says, because when the leaders are dharmic, that's when pandemics come, or that's when pandemics take place. So, in context of COVID, why did COVID occur? What did it do to the universe? What did it do to all of us? Nobody was spared. And when you really start looking at the systems between those that control the economy, those that control the politics, and also those who are controlled, the citizens, we almost have a herd mentality where we get driven by what we hear, and we do not ask questions as to what does that information mean to us. And when you begin to look at the whole back, I mean, if you look at the whole picture and you step back and look at the forest instead of the trees, you begin to realize that one key ingredient that is missing is Dharma. But the question is then, if Dharma is the problem, what do you really know about Dharma? Because I can go on and say about Dharma, and we can talk about Dharma, we can throw the term around regularly in our conversations, but what do we really know about Dharma? Because the more and more I check with people and I say, explain to me what Dharma is to you, and I begin to understand that, you know, they need to understand more. And it's not their fault, it's just that we don't teach it as much. Okay, so our understanding of Dharma would allow us to flow, to create the flow, to be in flow and allow the flow to continue. So if I receive money, I spread it out. If somebody needs help, I help. And that's part of Dharma, because you see that the currency, the infrastructure, it's not the currency, the infrastructure is Dharma. But when we break that infrastructure and go out of that structure, then you find that everything that we do does not work. Yeah. We accumulate houses. You know, I was talking in some of my talks recently, and I said, you know, a lot of wealthy people come to me for help. I'm penniless. Why would you come to me? You know? And you find that people come to me because I look at them and I say, you built a great house, you can't even interact with your children, you can't even interact with your spouse. What's the point of having such a great house? You guys live in separate rooms, you both have separate cars, you have separate friendships, you have separate relationships, and how is that helping in your relationship with your spouse or people that matter to you? Every child has their own room, they have their own car, they have their own technologies. They text to their parents. Or the parents text to them. When do you have that physical interconnection? Yeah. So again, when we look at our family structures, the more money we have, the more abundance we have, we don't understand Dharma, so we go and use it in a way that does us more harm than helps us. I think I'll add that. Oh, okay.
As you were speaking, Swamiji, I was also thinking of just, there are studies now that show that after a certain amount of accumulation of wealth, enough for one to sustain themselves, beyond that, it isn't like the more wealth you have, the more happiness you have. There's a plateau in which this is the amount that I need to sustain myself, and then above and beyond that is not an accumulation that is directly proportional to my happiness. And so I'd love, Ken, if you can share and shed some light on that.
Okay, so my expertise is in personal finance. So we can probably take a look at personal finances from energy perspective. So as I said, we deal with money, and money is so important because it touches every aspect of our life. It touches relationship, it touches your health, it touches your work, it touches your peace of mind. So unless you have this friendly relationship with money, your life could be as hell as Swamiji talked about. I'm struggling with Indian names. Yes, so it's interesting to take a look at what kind of energy it's flowing in your life. We may be more interested in numbers, but if you take a look at your money energy flow in your life, is that a happy one, or is that a busy one? Is that a struggling one? So the way you receive money as energy determines your happiness. So if you just do something out of love, and as a result you receive money, that is what I call happy money. But if you don't do what you like to do and receive money, or if you try to take advantage of other people and receive money, that is unhappy money. So you have to really watch out what kind of energy is flowing in your life. My mission is to transform this energy globally. So I'm starting from my more of a personal level. And if we are more peaceful with money, the more people will use money and create the money flow in a happier way. I'm going to talk about this from this afternoon, but I want to share a quick story about how I started writing about happiness and money. I was at the party a while ago, and a woman asked me if she could take a look at my wallet. And at the time, there were magazine articles and TV shows about what celebrities, carry. Like, what kind of wallet Swamiji carries? Is that an orange one, or is that a gold one? And people are very curious about that. So okay, I said okay, but don't run away with this. And she just took out all the bills and she was checking something, and she was saying, oh, this is good, oh, this is great, oh, this is nice. And then she put all the bills back into my wallet and gave it back to me. And she said, Ken, all your money is great. You passed the test. Like I said, what is it? What is a test? She said, I'm sorry, I see things that other people don't see. All your money was smiling in your wallet. That means you must have made a lot of people happy and receive money. So you passed the test. And I said, thank you. And she kept on. But on the other hand, if you are taking advantage of other people, or if you do something that you don't like, your money is crying in your wallet. You want to check your wallet and see what's inside? I'm sure here a lot of smiley money is inside your wallet. And the credit card is the same thing. Look at your credit card. It may be crying or it may be smiling. It depends on how you receive money. And she also kept on. And on the other way, when you spend money, are you blessing the people that you're just giving money to? A lot of us are complaining about the bills, especially electricity, the food prices are going up. So we don't want to let go of the money. We want to hold on. But the number will go down, so we feel like we lose money. But in exchange for the money we spend, we are getting something. We're getting this water or the bottle or this beautiful experience. So in fact, we're not losing anything. We are gaining something. So once you realize that we are in a beautiful energy flow, it will be easier for us to let go. So I always use analogies. My Zen teacher taught me everything using stories. So when you think of money, think about food for the next time. Human beings are like, we want to eat, but we don't want to go to the bathroom. I'm refusing because it's going to be less. If I let go in the bathroom, I have less. Is that healthy? Or how many days can you hold without going to the bathroom. It's not healthy. If you release it right, receive it right, that will be the basis of health and happiness. So if you can just start receiving money with appreciation, and the same thing when you let it go with appreciation, we can first achieve your emotional financial independence. And after that, if we can do that in our community, if we can do that in your company or in a region, I think the happy money circulation will really transform our relations with money. And I wrote a national bestseller a while ago in Japanese. It's going to be translated into English. Where did my money go? It's about a happy village that all the villagers are swiped into this scam with money. And then it's a peaceful elephant town called Moneyville. It's a lot of jokes in there. So the story tells you about what's most important in your life. Unless you are at peace with the money you receive and money you spend, your life will be so meaningless, even if you become a billionaire in your life. So you have to know how big your money container size is, because if you want to try to make it bigger, it's going to make a crack. You know, a lot of lottery winners end up losing a lot of money, and they go back to where they were started because they don't have the money container size right. So you have to know how much is enough, when is enough. If we have more than enough, we can share. So by doing that, I think we can really get through this. I've been predicting since last year we're going to experience a lot of economic turmoil, but you don't have to worry about it as long as you are connected with great people. If you're connected with the right people who are generous and kind enough, we're okay. I call it invisible assets. So, and here, everybody seems to have invisible assets, okay? So you don't have to worry about it. By the way, I teach money courses a lot, and there are many money types: spender type, gambler type, warrior type, saver types. And I've never seen so many people with the same archetype, which is money in different type. And they are the most blessed people because they don't think about money and they're okay. So I think whatever happens to the world, just remember this Ganga River. Even though 5,000 banks go bankrupt, you guys will be okay. You're protected.
I love it. We spoke a lot about how money is energy and how if there's emptiness inside, the scarcity and the illusion of scarcity is perpetuated. So how, just in closing, the last question of how do we really fill our inside? And also because a lot of people who are attending the festival are yoga practitioners, yoga teachers, not just the panel being yoga of abundance, but how they use yoga for gaining abundance and prosperity. And therefore, what are your tips for yoga practitioners as they teach yoga and have an exchange for that? How can they sustain prosperity and abundance inside and externally? So we'll start with Kim.
So I will just do the practical side. If you're a yoga teacher, you are creating a community. So the reason why wealthy people come to for advice for Swamiji is that they wanted to have peace. So I think all of you who are in this room are the creator of a beautiful, peaceful atmosphere. And so you're, in return, you're supported. So if you can create this peaceful air, peaceful atmosphere around your aura, around your what you do, people will be attracted to you. And if you're supported by, say, 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people, depending on how much or how big you want to do, but if you're supported by, say, a few hundred people, you are financially okay, unless you need 4 Teslas. So I think you create from your heart beautiful atmosphere around you. This atmosphere you create, people will come to experience. It's like a sunbathing. So instead of teaching all the skills of yoga, what you're offering is a beautiful peace energy with the tools of yoga. So please be yourself and stay open. I think people will support you no matter what happens outside the world. You know, you don't have to worry about banks failing because it's their problem with the money. So all you have to worry or think about is how you can serve the 200 your favorite people. So please enjoy creating beautiful air. It's what I want to share. Thank you.
All 3 of us mentioned Dharma. And I was listening to a lecture from my teacher one day, and he said that there is no illumination in the journey of spirituality without Dharma. I said, whoa, wait a minute. What did he just say? There is no illumination without Dharma. So I said, what does he mean by Dharma? Because most of us assume when we say the word Dharma, we're talking religion. So I have all the teachings and transcripts. I put in the little word Dharma and searched through the teachings on what was various definitions of Dharma. And the one I liked the best, which I thought applies to anybody, is when you know the mission of your soul and you do everything to support that, that's your Dharma. And anyone who listens, every person in this room came to do a different thing on this planet this time. So if through yoga, the magic science, simple science of how to awaken your inner voice so that, you know, the voice of your soul is different than the voice of your head. They're not the same. And when you hear the voice of your soul, you'll know there's another aspect of you talking to you. You know, so kind of irony is we're all schizophrenic, right? It's just most of us have blocked out the sound of our soul, the voice of our soul, and we listen to the voice of our mind. It's a very loud, you know, it's an obnoxious, loud kid, 3 years old, screaming inside your head all the time. And yoga is simply, as Ken was saying, a peaceful method to quiet yourself so you can hear your soul. Then you'll know your Dharma, you'll support your Dharma, and everything flows. The discussion of prosperity becomes kind of irrelevant, really, because everything flows and it comes. You don't have to, you know. There's a saying that Yogi Bhajan used to use that I always remember. He said, there's 2 kinds of people in the world. Those who think they have to go get it, and those who sit and wait, and it all comes to them.
There is, in our scriptures, in our Vedic scriptures, there's a brilliant description of what abundance means and how to attain it. But it particularly refers to the feeling of completeness. So when we say, or when we chant Om Purnamada, Purnamidam, it says that I am full, and from I am full, and the universe is full, and from that fullness, I am fullness. You know, just in a brief description. And when I got into this teaching, especially after my background in making money, losing it, making money again, losing it, I began to realize what Ken briefly, in a very nice way, stated, that we all have containers of how much money we can have. Now, if you look further in Vedic astrology, we can see how much money a person can have. Like if you look at Bill Gates' astrological chart, it's incredibly high. If you look at Mark Zuckerberg, if you look at some of the richest people in there, you can see how much money they're going to have and when it's going to materialize. It's not that it will materialize right away. We look at Deepak Chopra, for instance. He wanted fame for a long time, and then it just happened in, let's say, 1993. He had a conversation with Oprah, and he just shot to stardom. And when you look at his astrological chart, you see that that was exactly when it was supposed to happen, and it was going to last for about 20, 25 years. So all of us come with a set amount that we are supposed to have to fulfill the purpose that we're here for. I don't need the amount that Bill Gates has to do what I'm here to do. Okay? Everyone has a set amount, because having the money or having abundance in the way you think abundance is, in the way you think abundance is going to fulfill you, is not necessarily the means to fulfill your purpose on this life, in this particular life. So you are given the abundance that you need to fulfill your purpose if you do not distract yourself, if you do not allow yourself to be brainwashed by society. Because, I mean, if you look at Facebook, you look at social media with influencers and so on, I mean, it feels like, you know, you need to have these palaces, and when the guys are trying to sell you their courses, they want to sell you, oh, I made $100,000 in 2 weeks. Oh, I went on this vacation with my family, or I did this and that. And at the end of the day, every person who has made money, including myself, we found emptiness at the end of the day. Yeah. Then we say, okay, what else? What's there next? And with my learnings over the years, everything that we learn, that we do, we fail to understand that our purpose is not something we are in tune with. If we're in tune with our purpose in our journey in this life, then everything would come into play. Yeah. When we come to the scriptures, one of the other things that really blew my mind, and I'm actually living this way for the last almost 15 years. I keep telling my friends that I have no money, no job, no wife, no children, no home, and I have literally been homeless for the last 15 years. I do not know when I wake up next morning where my next meal is going to come or where I'm going to sleep. There are situations that I'll wake up like, okay, so the camp is over now, and where do I go next? Okay, and sometimes I will not know until the evening. I might have to check out at 11, but then I'll find out where I'm going next at 6 p.m. Okay, and this is the way I've been living for the last 12 years. In the scriptures, they say that once you trust, and you complete, and you know that you're full, you are already abundance. And so, in fact, the last 15 years that I've lived, I share this too, that there were only 2 nights where I did not have a place to sleep. And I was stuck in Philadelphia one time. It was about 7 o'clock or 6:30, and finally I said, okay, nothing is being manifested right now. I kind of have to call some friend for help, and I did, and he checked me into a hotel. When I say I have nothing, I actually am completely full, and I'm completely, I get everything I need. I travel to some of the most expensive countries in the world. I get fed. You don't see me malnutrition. You see, you don't see me starving. In fact, I have to lose some weight, actually. But the point is that for the past 12 years, I've lived in a way of just trusting that whatever I need will be provided. How did I end up doing that? Was mostly because the scriptures, and even my teacher in the Vedanta tradition says, you know, the moment, and the scriptures will say this, the moment you renounce, you have abundance. Now that's crazy, because at the end of the day, when you renounce everything, how do you get the abundance? And in the past 12 years, actually before that, when I was studying the scriptures, I didn't believe that because it made no sense. You know, when you think about it, it does not make sense. But then it only took my journey that I actually had to live it. And living it is when I found out that actually, yeah, it's true. Am I worried where I'm going to sleep tomorrow night or tonight, or where my next meal is going to come? I never worry about it. I've not worried about it for the past 12 years because I know something that I need will show up when I need it. In fact, in the scriptures, we do have a verse that says that every grain of rice, I'm talking about the single grain of rice, comes to you if it has your name on it. And literally, I've done these experiments. Everything I teach is based on my personal experience because, you see, I've got an engineering mind. And unless you show me and prove it to me, I will not accept it. So when the scriptures say, you have abundance, you are Bhagavan. Even in the term, the definition of Bhagavan is that you have to renounce. One of the 6 features of Bhagavan is that you have everything, but the last one is renunciate. So the idea of renunciation doesn't mean that you have nothing. In fact, it allows you to take you to a journey or a path where you get everything. Do I feel I have everything? Absolutely. In fact, I never worry about it. I don't think about it. I mean, my thoughts on a daily basis are, okay, what do I do today, and where am I going? And, okay, this person has a question, and how can I serve with love? Yeah. I came here, there are classes that I had to teach, and I'm like, how do I do this with love? Yeah. I'm not expecting students. I don't search for students. In fact, I try to run away from them because I know I'm abundant. I walk with abundance. And my life experience is a complete validation of the fact that you get abundance by renunciation, which is really, really an oxymoron when you think about it. It makes absolutely no sense. But when you live it, you see it. And that's the most interesting thing about our tradition and our culture. With that, thank you.
Let me just say one thing. If you have any doubts of what he's saying, all I say is look around at a yoga festival and this ashram that you just partook of this event in, and realize that Swamiji, whose energy makes this, and Bhagwati, who make this manifest, are both renunciates.
Thank you. I just, at the end, now that we're kind of wrapping up, want to touch upon what Puja Swamiji and Sadhviji share. I know we've been talking a lot about abundance in the sense of money, but when we speak about Ma Lakshmi, it's not just abundance in the sense of money, but abundance in the sense of so as we close, I'd love for you to speak to that, because one of the other things that they say is we're not actually in a global water shortage or a global, clean soil shortage or a global food shortage. The only shortage that's there is a global consciousness shortage. And I feel like that's such a beautiful thing that they bring us to, that I've heard from Puja Swamiji and Sadhviji often. And I want to touch upon that because so much of who we are, and even, being able to be clean, healthy bodies that can do yoga, is on the basis of our nature, of Mother Earth. And so it's not just assets in the form of currency, but assets in the form of abundance of Mother Nature, and then our responsibility to uphold that. So I'd love for you to speak to that as well. Maybe we can start from Swamiji and come this way. Just before Swamiji shares his last, and we have this last round, I did want to welcome our beautiful, all of you, but with us, of course, we've got Reverend Michael Beckwith, Puja Sadhvi Bhagwati-ji, our Yoga Festival presenters, and we've just been joined by Dr. Icha Nagendra-ji as well, who is the Vice Chancellor of SVYASA, and it's so wonderful to welcome him here to the Yoga Festival. Welcome, Dr. Nagendra-ji. Welcome home. And with that, we'll hear from Swamiji.
Okay, thank you. Many times, when we look at our behavior, you know, for many years, when I grew up as a Hindu, but then when I looked at my parents who did the typical Hindu things and worshiping, you know, deities, and as you know, in India, we worship everything. We see reverence in everything. As an engineer, I thought that was silly and absurd. I was like, no wonder India is backward, or, you know, I'd go on these rants. As a scientist. The more and more I began to understand the scriptures, the more and more I began to realize that every resource that we have on earth is Ishvara, it's God. Mother, you know, we worship every night. We have incredible arati here to worship the river. We worship mountains, we worship the trees, we worship everything, because all of that is nothing but Ishvara. Okay, so the question then becomes is, how do we treat the things that we have around us? When you're in your room and you let the water running, you're in the bathroom and you let the water running for 10 minutes, you're letting Ishvara drain. I go around, when I see a tap running, I turn it off. When I walk around and I see lights on during the daytime, I turn it off, because it's all energy, it's one energy. After all, we're all one, and we need to see that. In order to be able to see that, we realize that everything that is around us is nothing but one energy. And part of that is to look at how do we transact with the energy around us. There's water running in the bathroom, and you say, oh, well, it's not my hotel, or it's not my ashram, and, you know, they're going to pay for it, I don't care. When you have that attitude, you're also letting Ishvara go away. Yeah. That is true with everything. We pay a significant amount of reverence to the elements, starting from Mother Earth, water, fire. You know, every morning we have gone through havans. I mean, there's a powerful reason why we do these things. We pay reverence to the air and to akasha, to ether. There's a reason, and everything actually, when you look at the Indian culture, all of these features are actually integrated in daily life. But because we have this Western mind to say, oh, well, you know, it's not scientific, or it doesn't give any credence to my daily life, we tend to ignore it. Understanding, my whole attitude, actually, the more I understood about our scriptures, my whole attitude to everything changed. And I began to see reverence in water, reverence in energy. So just like what we talk about, not letting the energy flow in us, and Ken used a beautiful example, like if you keep eating and then not go to the bathroom, you know, it's not very healthy. But the thing on the other side is that we also waste a lot of energy. We waste water, we waste electricity, we waste the things we have. When we talk about abundance, we tend to accumulate more things. How many times do you actually use those things that you have bought? And now, because it's so easy to get stuff on Amazon, it's amazing. You have a glass of wine and you just keep buying stuff that you already have, and you already have 3 of the same items that you just bought again. Yeah. So if you look at your house, how much stuff do you have that you don't need? Yeah. If you don't use it, don't need it, pass it on. There's somebody who could use it. Yeah. And anyway, to sum up, I would say everything that you see, everything that you come across is a resource that is Ishvara, that is something that you have to see with reverence and see how you can work with it, how it can serve you and how you can serve it. The more you see Ishvara in daily life, the more you become relaxed, content, happy, because you see, you don't see emptiness, you don't see scarcity, you see fullness. But that fullness that you see from outside actually has to come from the fullness inside. And understanding the fullness inside you is essentially what gives you contentment and happiness. It's, you know, it's the way I live. The way I live is total validation or testimony to the completeness that I feel. Thank you.
To me, it's very simple for what is abundance. Someone who's full of kindness, love, compassion is as abundant as you can possibly get in this matrix.
I'm going to make it simple too. First of all, I just want to say Dhanyawad for so much beautiful time. And once again, let's remember money is connecting all of us. We are connected one another globally. So if we start creating a happy energy flow from us, it's going to impact some other people. So let us enjoy life, and then our vibration will pass on to the other people. I think we can influence at least a few hundred people every day on the vibration level. So if we interact with people in a little bit happier way, nicer way, more generous, more kind way, I think we can see a big change in a matter of a year or 2 years or 3 years. So when you feel like a little clinched about money or start worrying about money, just remember this Ganga River. It just flows so beautifully. It doesn't really care where it goes through. So you just receive the abundance flow as money flow, and then let it go to the next person. I always imagine money coming in with an angel. So next time when you receive money, just say, ding, ding, happy money coming in. The 2 angels are smiling at you. And when you spend money, you hear ding, ding, happy money going out. So just enjoy receiving and giving. And I'm sending you all my blessings to you and all my happy energy to you. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor and privilege to have moderated this panel. Just before we close, I would request Dr. H.R. Nagendraji. He was supposed to join this panel, but just came in from Haridwar, so I'd request him to come forward. Dr. H.R. Nagendraji is the president of Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhan Samsthan from Bangalore. He is widely recognized across the world as a yoga guru. He was an ex-NASA associate and Harvard engineer who has brought space science to our inner space through the science of yoga. And for the past 4 decades, he has worked tirelessly for yoga. And he also serves as in the governing council of the Indian Yoga Association. It's the one of its kind institution to bring all of the traditions of yoga together. To bring all of the Indian yoga associations and institutions and schools together, and he's been such a pillar of inspiration to the yoga institution and the yoga lineages in India and across the world. So it's a real special honor and joy to welcome him here. A big round of applause again for him. And since he is here and we're almost here at the end, I would love for him to share a few words. We've been speaking about yoga and abundance and prosperity. And I know S. Vyasa is teaching so many yoga teachers, yoga students all across the world. And so we'd love for you to share a few words on how can people who practice yoga really bring in abundance and prosperity. We've heard from all of the panelists, but it'd be wonderful to hear from you.
How much time? 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? How much? 5 minutes. Okay. My dear brothers and sisters, I bring greetings to all of you from Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhana Samsthan, deemed university in Bangalore. The residential campus is called Prashanti Kutiram. We have also our university in Los Angeles called VOYU, Vivekananda Yoga University in Los Angeles. So I bring greetings from both these universities to all of you. As we all know, our Honorable Prime Minister has brought International Day of Yoga, June 21st, which all of you know. And it is spreading more and more, not only in India, but all over the world. Yesterday, we had a wonderful program organized by Ministry of Ayush in Talkatara Stadium, where we had nearly 8,000 people who came from all parts of the country, and we launched 100 days before the June 21st. Next 100 days, every one of us should see that we practice the yoga protocol and bring to fruition on June 21st. Last year, you may know that a target of 20 crores of people, that is 200 million people, have to practice the protocol in our country. And we achieved 19 crores, 190 million. This year, the target is 25 crores. So our Honorable Prime Minister has urged all ministries to take initiative to see that everybody will practice yoga protocol. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the 40 minutes yoga protocol, and which has been nicely developed by all our yoga masters, including our Muniji, Ramdevji, and Sri Ravi Shankar, and all of us sat together 8 years back and prepared this protocol. It consists of all the 4 streams of yoga: Jnana Yoga, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. And intelligently, subtly, these things have been built to make it an integrated approach of this protocol. And everybody can practice. That is how things have been made. Very, very simple practices of asana, pranayama, meditation, everything included in that. So the target this year can be achieved not only by government, but by all the yoga institutions, and Paramarth and all of you has a great role to play in this. Our dream was to see that yoga spreads all over the world, right from childhood. How can this happen? Therefore, we developed National Yogasana Sports Federation and World Yogasana Sports Federation. So this is competition of yogasanas. Ultimately, we want to take yogasanas to the Olympics. That is the dream that Swami Ramdev and Muniji we all had decided. Therefore, this year we are going to have this competition in all the 7 continents. And we have formed the continental committees for making this. And we are going to have the continental Yogasana competitions in each continent. For example, we are going to have our North American continent competition in San Francisco. That is August 27th, 28th, 29th. South American Yogasana competition just 3 days later. And along with that, we are going to have an international conference in San Francisco on September 2nd and 3rd. So this is for the North American continent and South American continent. For African component, we are going to have it in Mauritius. And they have come forward to do that. Then for the European thing, probably we are going to have it in UNO Hall in the Vienna. Then we have for the Asian continent, we are going to have it in Miryang City in South Korea. In South Korea, the Miryang City has developed a wonderful project to combine the yoga dimensions of yoga and Korea. So they are going to inaugurate that, and we are going to have the competition there. Finally, the World Cup, we are planning to have it in Dubai. And therefore, we build the whole of the world to bring into the Yogasana as a means. You know, all of you know that Yogasana is not of yoga. It is a step towards it. Yoga is a science of holistic living. And children are all fascinated for this. At the age of 3, children have started practicing Yogasanas. And therefore, it is going to come up as a wonderful tool for largest number of people all over the world to happen this thing. And this yoga festival is a grand scenario for making this possible. And those people who have come here from different parts of the world, I was told 30 countries, more.
More than we've got this year 90 countries in the whole.
90 countries, fantastic, great. So from 90 countries you have come, and those people who want to associate with our continental committees from your countries, you are most welcome. You can contact Nandini from our side. We have got Manasa who has come there, and you can give your name so that in the committees you can also participate in this wonderful Yogasana dimension. And the Ministry of Sports in our country have approved this thing, Yogasana, as a sports for the development of Yogasanas. And the Khelo India and Indian Games also have included Yogasanas as a wonderful tool. Therefore, what has happened in the whole encounter is the children have started changing their lifestyle. I know a young girl who is only 8 years old. She started practicing from the age of 4. And today, she can practice 1,400 asanas. I asked her, how do you do that? And she says, every day I practice. She does kriyas, all the different kriyas she can do. And particularly Naudi, I was fascinated to see how she can do Madhyam Naudi, Vama Naudi, Dakshina Naudi, Naudi Chalana, everything so nicely. And we have seen people doing that Naudi sitting or standing, but she can do in every asana. Even Shirshasana she can do. And how is it possible? She says, morning 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. She practices 3 hours every day. And I was giving her some nice chocolates and sweets and other things when she came, all these things. She said, no, I'm not going to do that. No. Food is completely controlled, only limited thing. This is what has happened. And that is the change that is taking place among the youngsters, young children in India and all over the world. Therefore, a way of life is coming up, because when they have to prepare for the Yogasanas, they cannot afford to do anything. If I eat more, my weight will be there, my hand will become stiff, I can't do practices. And that is the type of thing that are happening, and all of you are familiar as to how important it is to see that yoga practice as a yoga way of life. And it has a great opportunity for everybody to spread this thing, and thousands of studios have started coming up all over the world, in India also. And a lot of our people who complete their academic programs, they start their own centers. For example, our alumni who have come out of our university, they have started things throughout the country in nearly 300 centers in our country. And in 80 countries, our work has started growing. And this is how it brings a great opportunity to build prosperity also along with that thing. Individual growth and prosperity. People can go for an IT, but what happens? They no doubt become very prosperous, they earn a lot of money, they develop wealth, but along with that, the health is gone, and they are getting burnt up today. Therefore, a lot of IT people have started, moving towards the yoga dimension. It promotes wealth and promotes health and promotes growth. That is the beauty of the yoga dimension. Therefore, I am really very happy that Paramath has started this wonderful program this year, and the yoga festival, yoga conclave that you have organized here. So many people from 90 countries have joined. I congratulate Nandini, our Bhagwati ji, and Niji for making this such a wonderful tool. I think we have started doing that after the COVID thing. We could not have had many things. Otherwise, I was coming every year.
Yes.
And after COVID, this is the first time we are doing, or second time?
Yeah, after COVID, this is...
So after that, doing for the first time. Therefore, I congratulate all of you, and I place on record the grateful thanks for all the organizers who have done such a wonderful thing. Told Arun Saraswat has been the main person who has been organizing, administrating, and we are so happy that we have a panel of such great people from different parts of the country who have come. And thank you all very much for getting to this wonderful, beautiful place of Gangama. Dhanyavad.
Yeah, this is our 34th annual International Yoga Festival. And during the pandemic, we had an online one. But this is, after the pandemic, the first in-person one. And over the course of the week, we've had over 90 nations. At the moment, today is the last day, so a lot of people have started to leave. But it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us for this exquisite discussion, conversation, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We will be gathering back at the Aarti Ghat at 5:15, and we will have a very special concert with the Kirtaniyas, intermixed and intermingled with the Aarti. And in the Aarti, we'll have our official concluding ceremony. And as we've all shared, we will also get a chance to celebrate Puja Sadhvi Bhagwati Ji's birthday, which coincidentally and divine design is today. And in honor of that, we also have celebrated Sadhvi Ji's birthday. We started this morning. We did Surya Namaskars to celebrate the 100-day countdown. And Puja Swamiji was sharing so beautifully how her life has been, when she went back to abroad and came back to India, it's been a countdown. And since then, it's been a blessing. Some people come to the banks of Mother Ganga and they seek blessings, but she is a blessing to the banks of Mother Ganga and to all of us. So a big round of applause. And with that, we conclude this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, respected Bhagavatia Ji, also for joining us. You are such a beautiful example. Ji is a businessman, but he does incredible, incredible philanthropic efforts, especially towards prosthetic limbs and medical facilities free of charge to people who are missing a limb. And he is more enthusiastic about service than his business, but his business is the energy through which his giving flows. So thank you so much, Bhagavatia Ji, for joining us also, and enjoy a nutritious, beautiful, healthy lunch. And the rest of your afternoon, we will see you back on the banks of Mother Ganga. And once again, thank you so much for our divine panelists, Ken, Gurushabd ji, Swami ji,